All right, welcome back, Red Spotters. Another show here on the Red Spotlight podcast. Boy, can you tell how tired I am. I'm your host today, Alexis Soto, joined by David Francisco as per usual. And this time, the lovely Miss Alexis Moreno has blessed us with her presence. Today, here on this wonderful show where we talk about all the latest stuff coming out in the world of movies. Well, it's funny of that. I don't seem to think of many new movies that are coming out around this time, but thankfully TV is bringing up the slack here with a big new show in House of the Dragons, or I guess in some, if you look at the title sequence, it's called Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. I don't know. I'll just call it House of the Dragon. The new series in the Game of Thrones franchise. Of course, if you listened to our podcast last week, David and I briefly talked about the show. At that point, I had not seen any of it. David, I think, saw the first episode, and since that time, now we have 2 entire episodes, 2 of 10. Earth to Disney Plus, that's how you do streaming television seasons, at least 10 episodes. Anyway, 10 total episodes, and so we've had 2. And we're gonna talk about that here today on Red Spotlight, number 413. A couple of things at the top, of course, to mention. A couple of big movies have seemingly already hit streaming. Well, I should clarify, digital. Not so much as if they're available on streaming services, but they're now available to purchase or rent on digital. And 2 of the biggest films this year, and in my opinion, 2 of the best films this year, Top Gun Maverick and Jordan Peele's Nope, are seemingly already hitting the digital shelves, and people are buying it and renting it and loving them all over again. As a matter of fact, I think a few weeks back, Top Gun Maverick, or the studio had a little promotion where if you went to go see it, they handed out a nice little poster. Evidently, Kyle's family went to the theater to go see a movie. It wasn't Top Gun, but they ended up being handed a Top Gun poster. The movie they went to go see was Minions: The Rise of Gru. Oh, that's the poster, exactly. David is holding up the wonderful poster for Top Gun Maverick. It is pretty. pretty. I love the color palette for the poster. And of course, Kyle really liked that movie. I think we all really enjoyed that film. Surprisingly so. It's one of the few examples where we can say we did not care at all for the original, and yet the sequel really rocks. So there is that. I will be picking it up on Blu-ray. I saw that it comes out in November, which is really, I know, that's old school release schedules of releasing the Blu-rays. The digital is out now, but the disc I think is out in November from what I saw, which is a really long time.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of you saw Nope by Jordan Peele, but that is obviously Nope. Some of you were saying right now, shaking your head. That is a really fun movie to pick apart and dissect, and all the little things that are in there, which is nice. And of course, properly unsettling and horrifying in every way imaginable. So that's great. Maybe the best horror film of the year. Although we had some good horror with Men earlier this year. I'm not sure if you 2 saw that one. That was.
I wanted to see it.
It's disgusting.
I honestly have not been to the movies. I mean, I don't usually go as much as you guys, but I feel like I've missed so many that I really wanted to see. I really wanted to see the Elvis movie, the
oh yes,
Bullet Train movie. I really wanted to see that one.
Right.
Nope. I've missed so many.
Yeah. I know we all have busy lives to lead, and to me, it's I don't like missing movies like those, especially the ones that I know I'm interested in, because it only makes the end of the year grind that much harder. Because when the end of the year happens from October to December, it feels like all the movies come out.
Yeah.
Theaters and streaming and other or VOD, what have you. And it's it's not just the regular releases. We have the big Avatar film or the it used to be a Shazam, now it's not going to be there anymore. But then that obviously is Oscar season. And so we have a lot of, Del Toro's Pinocchio will be out around that time. The new Steven Spielberg movie will be out around that time. There's so many others that'll be there. So
does it is it this year that it comes out? The mystery one? I forgot the name. The Bond guy is in it.
Which Bond guy?
Glass Onion or something like that? I can't remember.
No. Oh, you mean Daniel Craig?
Yeah.
The sequel to Knives Out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, Glass Onion is coming out Christmas, isn't it? They said Christmas, December 23rd.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited.
I know.
Do you remember when that movie came out? And
Yes, I do.
the other one came out? Man, that was a good...
Knives Out and Jojo Rabbit, I think, came out around the exact same time. Oh, I love those movies. But Knives Out particularly, that's one of the most... To me, you can go no wrong seeing that movie any time of the day. Like, that's just a pure pleasure entertainment standpoint. It's so much fun, and it is, I think, to this day, the perfect Thanksgiving movie. So I like to watch that movie around Thanksgiving time. And, of course, we'll have the new one around Christmas time, so that's great.
Maybe the following year, Halloween one will come out. That way it'll trifecta.
Maybe. And Lord knows we need a good Halloween movie. We'll see, because we have two supposed big Halloween films in the form of Halloween Ends, which I don't expect great things from. And then on the streaming side of things, we have Hocus Pocus 2, which who the fuck knows how that's going to turn out. So, I mean, fingers crossed.
Honestly, like, if it's as goofy as the first one,
sure,
I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
At least if it's stupid in an endearing way, I can roll with it, you know? I mean, I rolled with Chip and Dale. I rolled with Cruella. Those were very entertaining. So if it's in that, like, area, I'll be good. As long as we don't reach, like, crap like Home Alone or just some bad. I mean the Disney Plus Home Alone, not the obviously classic Home Alone movie. Just to clarify about that. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming out, as always, right? And right now there's a Game of Thrones show. There is an upcoming Lord of the Rings show, which, for those longtime listeners, know we hardly ever talk about Lord of the Rings. We don't really do Lord of the Rings. I've seen all the films, but I can't tell you a thing that happens in those movies. And I feel so embarrassed about that.
I like the Hobbit movies, but I truly don't know what happens.
I don't know. I can't even try with it. So, I mean, I assume that this new show is supposed to be, like, almost completely, like, removed from the story of those films? Or am I wrong completely there, David? Do you know more information about that than I do? I don't know, honestly.
It's the same thing as, like, Game of Thrones, where it takes hundreds of years in the past.
Okay.
And all that, so.
All right. So we're avoiding the main timeline, going well into the past. Okay, great.
I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I mean, by the title, because it has something, obviously, like, has to do with rings. So is it, like,
the Rings of Power,
where they get the rings? I don't know.
I don't know what the story is at all. It's just, that's all I know is that it takes place hundreds of years before.
Was it more than one ring? What's happening?
Yeah. So right now on Red Spotlight, as you've been noticing these last few weeks, we've been covering at least the shows that we've been watching or at least following, which would be now House of the Dragon and She-Hulk. And I expect that Andor will become part of that regular rotation, because that is one that, look, when it was first announced, I think all of us were of the mind that we're happy that Diego Luna gets work. And we're happy that he, you know, for whatever reason, is, you know, a beloved presence in this universe. But all the same, when it was announced, we were like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the trailer comes out, and then you read a lot of the interviews, and you know that Tony Gilroy is a filmmaker. And when you read a lot of those quotes that I shared with you guys in the chat, all of a sudden you're kind of instilled with this newfound confidence in what this show could bring forth. And the trailer speaks for itself. That thing looked like a movie. And a lot of the other Disney Plus Star Wars shows particularly have not looked as good.
And Filoni and Favreau are not involved, right?
No, they didn't go anywhere near this show with a 10-foot pole, and damn does it show. And I'm happy. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm happy about that. And
you
again,
know what? They
see what
bamboozled me so hard, because I thought that they had announced a second season for Obi-Wan, and it was just a fucking trailer for, like, the behind the scenes stuff.
When was this?
When it came out, it was like last week or something, and I got so excited, and then I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is
we've all been there. We've all, like, seen things that, like, oh, did they do this? And then of course it wasn't. We all get had one way or the other. And when it comes to like, surfing, film Twitter and all that crap, we all get so confused. I remember years back, I think there was like a April Fool's Disney post where they announced that they were going to retheme Sleeping Beauty Castle into the castle from Arendelle, from the Frozen films.
Yeah,
and
that's great. Have you been hearing? I honestly, I don't know what's going on with that, but a lot of people are saying that they're gonna get rid of the castle. Like, I don't know where that came from.
What castle? The castle?
Yeah.
The castle?
Yeah.
To me, there's several castles, but there's one The castle, the one that started it all. Thank you for reminding me. The D23 convention is technically nigh upon us, like in 2 weeks' time, if less than that. And
no, I thought it was it's this weekend.
No, it's next weekend, I think.
No,
it's not this weekend. It's the next one.
No, because remember
really?
we were looking for hotels, and I said maybe not near that area because it's. Oh yeah, you're right. You did say no. It's next weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let me tell you something. I thank God it's not. I don't think we would have been very welcomed into the area, considering the people who would live. Again, all the Florida people coming in. No, thank you. So we'll get out of that way.
I'm kind of sad. It's the first time I'm not going since 2013. That's a lot of years.
That's a lot of years, but at the same time, here's the thing. Unlike all those other years, there's a different a person at the top of the castle, shall we say. And look, with Disney, there's, I think,
he's gonna show his face.
I think he'll be there for the Disney Legends ceremony, as they usually have, and then he'll probably walk off, because they're supposed to do it, but anyway. I mean, to be fair to Bob Chapek, he's been looking a lot better these days compared to David Zaslav, which is the new head honcho for Warner Brothers Discovery, so great timing on his part. Anyway, I don't know what to expect, honestly, of like, as far as their film division, like their Walt Disney Live Action Studios unit, I don't know what to expect, but they always have really exciting and interesting announcements when it comes to animation. Yeah. Particularly Walt Disney and Pixar animation, so that's what I'm excited for. There may... Percy Jackson might get a little bit more of a look into, since it's a big Disney Plus thing, obviously. So David obviously would love that.
Dude, seriously, when I saw that like Rick Riordan is gonna be there, I was like, "Fuck!" The one time,
the one time you guys don't go, and it's this time. So I'm curious to see what else is announced for Disney Plus, particularly. I'm sure, because it wasn't at all touched on in Kevin Feige's presentation at Hall H and Comic-Con, he will probably announce new Marvel shows for Disney Plus, probably coming in at Phase 6, I think. So we should see that. Maybe a couple of new Star Wars Disney Plus shows will be announced. So that's what I expect. As far as the parks, the amusement parks, the theme parks are concerned, I think all bets are off in terms of like, well, maybe that's the wrong way of saying it. I would think expectations should be managed severely, considering how many projects have been canceled since the last D23. R.I.P. Mary Poppins, which should have had.
Oh my god. Last D23, like more than 50% of the stuff that they announced is, I mean, granted, there was a pandemic in between and all that.
And a change in leadership.
Yes. But like more than 50% of the stuff that was announced is where?
Dead in the water. Dead in the water. Never to be seen from again. Canceled. I mean, particularly the one that's one of the most offensive ones, including, of course, I just mentioned. Which one?
Lizzie McGuire.
That's what I was going to say. Lizzie McGuire. Like, that's the one that's like, really? Like, okay, so last D23 was it 2019?
Yeah, it was the year that
Disney Plus wasn't even a thing yet. Wow.
It was the year that it was going to come out.
Oh, since I believe they announced it then, or maybe it was in 2020, but I expect to see more from the animated series like Tiana and Moana.
Oh, you're
right?
Oh, so, and then there's another one that's, I think, in Wakanda? or something.
There was
like
a
that?
Wakanda animated series that was announced at a Disney event, but we've not heard about it since then. So again, things change drastically. But as far as like what they could do, I don't know. I mean, I would hope to be surprised. Oh, I guess we'll get more into what was that movie that they announced recently? They recently got the Hawkeye directors to do something. Do you remember what it was? It was a movie based on a attraction. Oh, yes. Haunted Mansion. Isn't Haunted Mansion happening?
Haunted Mansion is happening.
But it's not those
Big
people.
Thunder.
They're doing something else. Big Thunder. Okay, so from what I also heard they were going to do, rumors, a Space Mountain movie. So that could be a big theme that day where they like, okay, we're going to go full force with these like theme park ride movies and see where that gets us.
Mm-hmm.
Which could be interesting. They should have done The Rock and Emily Blunt. They should have continued that series. That would have been really cool.
It did really well. I don't know why they wouldn't pursue a sequel. They and those two were really well on. They worked really well for me on screen together. Anyways, I would be up for a sequel. Why not? The first one was actually one of the few that ended up being good. Mm-hmm. You know, just like entertaining. Cruella 2, right? Wasn't that announced somewhere?
It's going to be a musical.
Is it?
Or it might be. That's what they're saying.
Really?
And that Taylor Swift wants to somehow be involved.
This thing just gets weirder and weird.
Listen, honestly, I think it might work. I would be down. I really like the first one.
Make it all the more perfect. Schedule schedule a release date for Cruella 2 next to Joker 2. We'll have a musical face-off. That would be amazing.
And watch Cruella wins.
I mean, Cruella, I think, has a really devoted fan base, at least the film. But I feel like you slap a movie with the name Joker, people are going to just go, no matter what it is, even if it is a musical. But it is curious to see how, like, that's received, because, like, it's such a weird direction to take a Joker sequel. So, it's a crazy time. It feels like, at the same time, anything can happen, but we also have to be, like, of the mind, well, remember who are the people who are leading these like companies now. We have Bob Chapek and we got David Zaslav, and so we can only get our hopes, up so high.
Oh my god, I freaking hope we see more of that Avengers ride. We've gotten absolutely nothing.
So, I feel that I got this from Fresh Baked, which is like, I feel like they have they're grounded in with a lot of these rumors. Now, I think, number one, it's been delayed because money. Mm-hmm. And number two, at least that's the reasoning that was provided in this rumor, which, of course, we can only trust those so much. But it seems the technology for this ride system isn't there yet for this ride.
Interesting.
Meaning, because it was supposed to be Flight of Passage-esque, the technology, so there could be, that suggests that they're not doing that anymore, and they're going for something more ambitious than Flight of Passage technology. If that's the case, okay. But still, even if they do announce it, when's it going to open? 2035? By the way, it's been over 2 years since they announced the Splash Mountain makeover. When's that opening?
All we've gotten is artwork.
They haven't even closed
by the
it.
End of this year?
I mean, it shouldn't it? You would think if we close,
no, they
I don't
announced
know.
It.
Okay, maybe it will then. I mean, I was just there a few weeks ago, and I went on Splash Mountain. I didn't see Tiana. I didn't see Facilier. I was expecting a lot of that music. It was like, oh, these people are still here. Breyer Rabbit and Breyer Fox and all these people. I thought they moved out. That didn't happen at all. By the way, I should take this time to mention, since we're, circling the parks here. Again, this is why I say keep your expectations in check, because one of the big rumors, and it's really funny, because it shows you on some level how much faith some of these executives had in the Lightyear movie doing well, which, by the way, where has that movie been? Notice how it came out and people just forgot that it was even a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you see the movie and you know why, but like, think about this. Those executives saw that film and they thought, man, we could use this not only to retheme our Space Mountain, but we can retheme our whole Tomorrowland off the success of this movie.
That's what they should announce.
What?
A Tomorrowland upgrade.
Oh, I think that's happening. Actually, I think that's a definite thing. As far as parks are concerned, they're going to do that. The question is, how ambitious is it? And what's the overall direction for this reimagined Tomorrowland? I think because...
Listen, I love innovations, but like, it's just a waste of space. Like,
it is, but listen here. Okay. They just spent so much money refurbing those submarines. It's safe to say those are not going to go away in our lifetime at this point. So those subs are not going away, and we all know that the subs are connected to Autopia, so those stay in place. So that leaves you also, adding that in with the space, a very limited number of options. But funnily enough, I told this to Kyle, and he didn't have the heart to tell you, is what he told me, about like one of the rumors for what they were planning to do with what you just mentioned. The Innovations building, which is currently, I believe, Star Wars Launch Bay. That hasn't been a thing in years. I think it used to be the Carousel of Progress, then it closed. I think before it was America Sings, then it killed somebody and it closed. It's a mess. Anyway, from what I heard, the building is for sure going to get demoed. But that rumor also said that the reason it was going to get demoed was that they can, and what was going to replace it, it's a bunch of chairs for additional seating.
For what?
Now, I don't know if this one has much credibility, but if that happened,
like that Star Wars thing gets so much people. It's always empty.
Well, I mean, they agree with you, which is why they think seating is far more attractive than what's there right now. Just gonna tear down a building and put a bunch of chairs in there, with a couple of umbrellas probably. I don't think that's the best use of that space. No, I'm saying
that they think that the where you like turn into a Jedi, they swear like that gets so much like attention.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know what's going to happen with that, but the reality is there's just not enough space for the obvious ones like a Tron Legacy attraction or even a Guardians Cosmic Rewind coaster. We don't have the space.
If they took out the pizza place.
I think everybody would be
and
okay.
Innovations.
I'm sorry.
They just make a Tron ride.
Right. I mean, hell yes. Preach it. But are there any serious like diehard fans of Pizza Planet out there? Because that's not, I mean, that really?
I love that place. That's my favorite place to eat.
But you would be okay to like replace it?
Yes.
You would be saying,
yes.
Wow, okay. All right. I don't know what's going to happen ultimately, but People Mover seems likelier and likelier to return. People Mover used to be an attraction at Tomorrowland that was closed. It would be on the second level of it, and it would go into the attractions, Star Tours, and Space Mountain, like a little tour of Tomorrowland. And of course, it was closed for an even faster version called Rocket Rods. Then that was closed because it was destroying the infrastructure and it would have probably killed people. So they had to like close that shit down pretty quickly. Yeah, I would hope they remind themselves that, DCA has gone a long way in 20 years. It's still mostly a half-day park. I would say it needs a dark ride and attraction here and there.
2 hours.
Literally, it needs more. It really does. Oh, I think they might announce Paint the Night's coming back.
Don't do this to me.
I think that's serious because I think I saw a video that said that there were like Paint the Night floats being brought into
That is
Disneyland
true, I did
a
see
few
that.
weeks back. Yeah, I think that could be it. Because Main
will
Street's going away,
cry.
so I think it would be.
Oh my god!
But you see, that's an easy win. Hey, Paint the Night's coming
That's
back, and then
true.
they get showered with praise.
Listen.
So yeah, that's something I could see happening for sure. Oh, there could be
Toontown.
some. Yes, yeah, we need updates with Toontown. We're closer to its completion, so 2023 is when it'll open. They're dark horse here, but a slight chance they retheme Tarzan's treehouse. Here's why. Oh, it hasn't.
No, they tore it
no.
down.
Well, it was when it closed. It was supposed to be for a refurbishment. It's been a year now, and it's still closed. So
It's
I don't
still
know if
there?
it was. It's no. The house is there. It's
Oh,
just
okay.
under wraps.
I thought they tore it down.
No, it has not been
Oh.
removed at all. It's just under wraps.
I'm so sad.
Now, a rumor I heard, or maybe it was even speculation. I can't recall, but a quick thing to do, capitalizing off the success of Bob Chapek's wonderful new franchise, Encanto. They could retheme the treehouse to Encanto. That's an idea. And it'll be a walkthrough attraction. That could be a quick redress. So, and that would explain why in the
you
middle
get shit
of
talked by grandma. Ooh.
so
Instead of the jaguar yelling at you, it's abuela.
yeah, that jaguar was scary. Remember going through there?
Yes, I hated that. Honestly, that's why I never really got on it because the jaguar scared me.
I mean, to me, the only reason to go on the treehouse was for the views. The views are nice, like the rivers of America and everything. So, I would hope they would also, even though they've already like confirmed that they're going to be more lax with the timeline of Batu. I would hope they chuck that all together and just say characters here, characters there, characters everywhere. We have characters in multitudes. Just do it. Because it's crazy how like Avengers Campus is so small, but like literally you're surrounded by characters.
I hope that they like see that and are like, okay, like.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. Like, how can you not see it? It's like, unless you don't want to pay the cast members.
They don't. I mean, they
that's
already
what it
don't.
They already don't, so I guess that would explain it. I don't know. A new restaurant would be nice at Disney. It's been a while since we had one of those. Like, the last one was, I think, Lamplight Lounge at Pixar Pier, which was years ago.
No, the last one was Pim's Kitchen.
Oh, that's right. I literally blanked out on its existence. I walked past that the other time I was
got
there.
one drink and it tasted disgusting.
It doesn't look very good, but then again, I mean, it's Ant-Man. What would you expect? Just look at his movies. Anywho, yeah. So as I was talking about Andor, when it comes on, we'll probably be discussing it because it looks pretty good. So keep an eye out for that. And I honestly don't know when we'll go back to the movie theaters. Because I'll be honest with you.
Is this the first?
What is it, Alexis? You're having a mind
Is this
explosion?
the first year that Jennifer Lee is in charge and it's D23?
Yeah. Like, for sure.
And
like,
I'm
I mean, she...
missing it. I am so sad. I can't.
There's always next year.
No, there isn't. It's a year after. Oh my god.
Oh, and I'm sure... Oh, I should have mentioned it. Because it's probably a given. They'll probably announce a new live action... Oh, no. That fucking Lilo and Stitch bullshit. I just remember...
Did you see the thing?
What thing?
Wait, Little Mermaid.
Oh, yeah, Little Mermaid. Yeah, that one's coming out next year, so we're going to get a lot... Maybe even a trailer.
I think
which
so.
you won't be
Right.
there to see. Probably because they won't release the trailer.
Oh my god, I swear, if this is the year that Lin-Manuel Miranda shows up...
There'll probably be a tribute to Pat Carroll or something. You know, a lot of things are happening. Oh, God. I think she's having a mental breakdown here. But no, I mean, you can probably bet on 1 or 2 live-action remakes being announced, or probably Lilo and Stitch. Well, that crosses a line for me. That shouldn't be made. But what other animated films have they not
touched
done into a live action remake yet of the classic one? Yeah, that's not happening anytime soon. That's not.
I think they are gonna do a Hercules.
Yes, but that one, from what I heard, stalled. It's not moving forward at the moment. It's just paused. Hercules was one of the ones that they were looking into. At some point there was gonna be a Jungle Book 2, but Jon Favreau's busy. Looks like. Oh, Lion King 2. With Barry Jenkins, right? The Moonlight director was supposed to do a Lion King 2, so we could see more information about that, unless it's just been canceled off screen.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know, right? This is just bizarre to me.
Tinkerbell?
A Tinkerbell live action movie, you think?
I thought they were doing it with Reese Witherspoon.
Oh, wait, no. Peter and Wendy.
Was it Peter and Wendy? Oh.
Wasn't Peter
and a
David
Tinkerbell movie? No.
I don't know about Tinkerbell. I don't remember her being mentioned.
Oh.
I will say I was there at Main Street for the parade a few weeks ago. Tinkerbell was quite the star. I mean, duh, but like even more so. Like people were like, they were throwing things at her. She's very popular. Yeah, Peter and Wendy, I think, is one they announced with David Lowery, who is the director of, oh God, the Green Knight. The Green Knight guy, I believe, was doing that movie.
That's...
I remember you guys talking about this. I don't know. It's an interesting one.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, that's not what you would expect.
No.
At all.
But also, like, intrigue.
Of course it is. I wonder if they'll do any announcements for their Fox properties. Like, maybe they'll announce a new Predator movie or Planet of the Apes, because that's been in development.
If they did.
They could do that.
But I don't know.
Alien. What about Alien? Wasn't there an Alien show that was in development already?
I think so.
For Hulu and everything. Oh, maybe they could even do a Futurama thing, because that's being brought back for Hulu through the Disney regime. So, yeah, it could be a bunch of stuff. Or not.
Or not.
I guess, yeah, that's the thing. Or not. So
I mean, they have to. Like, they've had how many years since
3?
They've done one? Like,
at least 3.
I don't know.
And it used to be every other year, but now it's like 3 years. It's been a while, and I would think that Mr. Paycheck would like want to use this as a way to, I don't know, improve his image somewhat. He has to be somewhat concerned because his contract was renewed because at the end of the day, the stock is where it is in this capitalistic planet, but the public relations side of things has never been worse at Disney when it comes to him. So he has a lot of making up to do everywhere. He's pissed off everybody at that company. It's ridiculous. By the way, we still have not figured out yet. We'll see what the runtime is for Black Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. But don't forget this thread. We still haven't figured out if it was Kevin Feige's choice or Bob Paycheck's choice about the runtime for Thor: Love and Thunder and Multiverse of Madness that were both under 2 hours or around 2 hours. So, I don't know if that's a new thing for Bob where he's like, okay, no more 2.5 hour movies, just 2 hour movies. In which case, with one of those films, I would think was rather hurt by that runtime. So, just to, keep that in mind. Oh yes. The obvious one. with the Marvel. They're going to announce Matt Shakman as the Fantastic Four director, and they're going to announce the cast of Fantastic Four.
Yes. Also,
That's the big one.
What's his name? The guy from Gossip Girl. They said that they were looking at him to be.
What's his name? Is it Chadwick?
No.
Chad something?
No.
Or Westwick?
No.
I don't know. I had that name in my mind.
Oh my god. I can't think of his actual name.
Do you know who the cast is? Have you seen like who it could be?
I just saw the guy from Gossip Girl. I didn't see anybody else. The guy from You. Oh my god, what's his name?
Him! Yes, him. I don't know the name, but I know the guy. That would be interesting if he was
I think
cast.
so too. He well, I don't know if you've ever seen Gossip Girl, but he talks really fast and is like...
Well, I've seen You. I've seen him kill people on You. So.
I haven't seen You.
No, that one's kind of a morbid show. So if you like Hannibal and people killing, whatever, there's that. But he does talk fast, so I have picked up on that. So he would be an interesting choice for Reed Richards, who, from what I'm told, is the smartest man alive. So I guess we'll see about that. Interestingly, we haven't had the chance to talk about it on the show yet, but since we brought it up, how do you feel about the decision? Matt Shakman, who was the director of all of the episodes of WandaVision, not the writer, the director of all the episodes of WandaVision. The writer was Jack Schaefer, for those of you who recall. What is your reaction to Shakman getting the job to direct the Fantastic Four? Honestly.
I think it just could be interesting. I mean, even though we had complaints about the last episodes of WandaVision,
I'm sure we can blame Kevin Feige for that. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And the pandemic, though, too.
At least he's not that guy that you guys don't like.
Which
The
one?
that really wanted it.
You know what makes it even sweeter? According to Grace Randolph's sources, she heard that he tried again and pitched Fantastic Four, and it was rejected. So at least Kevin Feige had the good sense to not hire that guy, because then that would have been depressing. And then, hey, he tried, but thank God he didn't get the job. So I guess there's that, right? I mean, I can be happy that it's not the worst case scenario. And I think Matt Shakman is a competent director, but I think at the end of the day, he's a TV director. But I want to give him a chance. Sure, I want to be charitable in that way. To me, it's like when you put this against, I'm not even sure if you two have had, at least David has, but I'm not sure Alexis has had the chance to even respond to Destin Daniel Cretton being named the director of the next Avengers film, Avengers: The Kang Dynasty. It's just like, okay, but get better people. Just get new people. Like, stop recycling the same ones. Like, this isn't exciting. What we want, ideally, is, in some respect, what Kevin Feige doesn't want, which is somebody who's gonna, like, be in there and, like, yeah, Kevin, but I'm gonna make this movie, okay? Back off a little bit. That's the guy I want to do, or the girl, whatever, to make these movies. Speaking of, is there any hope for an Eternals 2 announcement at D23? Because we should say that Patton Oswalt, who of course played Pip in Eternals, again, it hasn't at all been like, he hasn't been made to correct himself at all since this happened, but it's been a month that he went on Good Morning America and said that, oh yeah, they announced Eternals 2. I don't know what he was talking about because nobody announced Eternals 2. This is like after Comic-Con, but it could suggest that it's happening.
I would like, man.
I would like to hear that announcement.
That's like the only thing that I like.
I know. I think an Eternals 2 would be awesome. I want to see that.
I do too.
They teed it up so well.
What's her name?
Chloe Zhao.
No.
Which one?
The couple that I like. What's her name? Makari and
Oh yeah, Druig and Makari.
yeah, like in their little adventure. Yes. Oh dang.
I feel like that to me is half the reason why you greenlight Eternals 2. Is like what more can be done with Druig and Makari at the forefront of your movie. That's what I would want to see. So
And if you like remember that movie, I feel had more big moments online than Doctor Strange and Thor.
yeah.
Like you could say Doctor Strange the cameo, but even then, like you didn't really see it as much as Druid and Makari.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've picked that up. I picked up on that as well, and I would hope Marvel has as well. I mean, to me, I did not pick up on a single bad vibe between Chloe Zhao and Kevin Feige, which is remarkable because Chloe Zhao has, I think that she's not given enough credit because, I mean, in general, right, for the movie she made, but in the interviews of which I've, read them at quite length, she's come off but nothing but very cordial and respectful to the Marvel process. Even though it still comes across like in her comments, well, yeah, I mean, it is the studio, it is the Marvel system, and they have their things, but it seems like she overall was very happy with the movie she made, even though, of course, the limitations that are put on her by Kevin Feige. And, of course, giving Feige his credit, he let her go outside to make a movie. So there's that. And he did give her, I guess, final cut of the film, which he didn't give anybody else. So I think those two got along really well. And remember, don't forget, early reports of Eternals, well before the film even was released in theaters, indicated Feige was very happy with the film. He enjoyed it. I mean, of course, he has to say that, but I mean, from what reports suggest, this is one of the ones that he really enjoyed. So I think there's potential for sequels in general, but particularly the one that was set up with this sequel. So, yeah, why not? Did they date Blade in Comic-Con?
No.
I don't think so.
I haven't heard anything about Blade at all since they announced the actor.
Huh.
Interesting.
I was pretty sure they dated Blade, but that was it that they said. I mean, they're probably going to show more of Wakanda Forever, I bet you. Mm-hmm. Maybe even a new trailer for D23. Oh, how did we forget? They're gonna like milk Avatar for all it's worth. They're probably I know. That could very well be where they debut a new trailer for Avatar.
I hope so.
The Way of Water.
There's not much of a story in the first trailer.
There's not much of a story to begin with. I mean, we'll see. With the movie, I mean, it's pretty much all visual. We'll see how it turns out. I'm ambivalent. I don't want to say like I don't care. Like, I mean, I want to support James. I mean, I don't want to say that because like I want to see what James Cameron can still do because he is an amazing filmmaker. I mean, he gave us Titanic, obviously. And, of course, Aliens. So I want to give the film a chance. I want to give every movie a chance. But am I excited? No. Do I care, really? No. So it's like, okay. But I'm sure that's going to come up at D23. So
yeah.
Basically, based on these last 50 minutes, it seems like a lot's going to come up
I know.
at the end of the day. So, or not. Again, I guess we have to see. We'll have to see how it goes in the next few weeks. But
anyway, thank you for listening to the Fantasy Fair. And
I know, right? Well, it's not on right now. So, but I mean, a lot of this does spill over into movie news. So, Anyway, it is what it is. Before we move on to the big thing, I did want to say, in an era where, of course, David Zaslav is on a killing spree when it comes to all things animation, seemingly somehow the fabulous Miss Harley Quinn survived. If she can survive the Joker, she can survive anything, it seems. And she's getting a 4th season. I feel bad because I haven't been caught up. I've seen the first 3 episodes of season 3, and of course, the quality of the show speaks for itself. It's funny, and, well, it is funny, but it's enraging how just because it's an animated show, it gets so overlooked. I know I say this on the week that it was renewed, but still, like, considering how much attention She-Hulk gets, and it's not at all funny. Harley Quinn, some of the funniest shit you'll see, especially in this genre. Where's her award? Literally. Although, technically speaking, she did win an award for Best Couple on the show. So, I don't know if you've seen that, but that's there. All right. So, with that being said, did I miss anything that was announced as far as, like, WB or DC or HBO Max was concerned? Maybe not. I did want to clarify from last week. I did say that on HBO, the cable channel, House of the Dragon did debut to 10 million viewers, which was very impressive. And the ratings have come in for the 2nd episode, and it increased its share, even more viewers for the 2nd episode, which that is a very, very promising sign.
That's something that I was talking to David about, that I think the fact that it's on Sunday and it's at 9, where people are still awake.
They're at home and they're awake, yes.
Like, it makes a big difference.
It does, right? Instead of like Wednesdays at not
midnight.
Wednesdays. Well,
Any
yes,
day
Wednesdays at midnight. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wednesdays at midnight. I know. It makes such a big difference because then it's like you have the whole day to look forward to it. You get yourself comfortable.
Yeah.
Maybe even do a little bit of a marathon to get yourself hyped up for it, and then it comes on. Like that's. They were very smart.
You don't wake up to spoilers.
Exactly. They were very smart to keep the same time slot for Game of Thrones, which is funny because they also kept the same theme song and the same music. I mean, they did do a whole new opening title sequence, which, I mean, in it's very much meant to feel like the Game of Thrones opening credits sequence, but that's interesting. I think is this kind of a first where a prequel show just pretty much uses the same music? By the way, I know there is something to be said about they're not, doing a new theme song. I will say, let's be real. That Game of Thrones theme music is one of the best pieces of music ever written for a TV show. One of the best opening sequence ever. I don't blame them for not wanting to even try coming up with another one.
I
and
don't
just
mind
say
it at
fuck
all.
it. I know. I feel the same way.
Kind of see it as like a Westeros song.
In a way, it does feel like season 9 because you do hear the music, but it's its own thing and it's very separated.
Yeah.
It has a lot of the same themes.
I know people were really upset about it, but
yeah,
whatever.
I mean, I know, but at the same time, I would feel a lot of those people would also be upset with like this new theme song is trash.
Yeah.
So people are gonna complain no matter what. I guess it just depends on what they're going to complain about. And considering the things that are on display in the first 2 episodes, let's just be grateful it's about that and not about more uncomfortable things in the other direction. Because it did get to that level of uncomfortableness. It got really disgusting. Anyway, so I'm happy to hear that it's received so well. People are watching. Of course, as we said last week, David, that it was renewed immediately for season 2. One of the few things that gets a renewal in the days of Zaslav. So good. Good on them. And before we get into it, we should probably mention that it's rather strange you don't usually see this happen right as the show gets off the ground, but there's a bit of a shakeup with management. And I don't know, Alexis, if you have it in front of you, but the particular reasonings for why one of the two main showrunners, and by the way, it should be made clear that we got new people on this team, and George R.R. Martin is a much more creative presence on this show than in the last few years of the old Game of Thrones show. I know it's already been established, but just to remind you guys. But there is a shakeup already underway as far as showrunners are concerned for House of the Dragon. Alexis, do you have that?
Yeah. Co-showrunner.
Yes.
Who also worked on Game of Thrones. Miguel Sapochnik is leaving.
What? I know, it's like, I read that and I'm like, did I read that right?
Yeah, me too.
It's like, why?
I'm so confused. I kind of got scared. Like, because he's basically, I guess, like, the director, I guess. Like, him, I can't remember the second guy's name, and then George R. Martin are, like, the big three in the show. That's a big deal, like.
Yeah. It's a big fucking deal. I think from what I read and what you sent, he just got burnt out.
Yeah. Well,
and,
he didn't really want to do it to begin with.
Ooh, really?
Yeah. But
well, damn.
They went up to him. Like, he took a little bit more convincing to get on, but he did it, and he put all he had in it. And honestly, it shows. It's at least as of now, it's showing.
It doesn't seem like the kind of show where somebody didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Unlike other Game of Thrones stuff where the other people really didn't want to be there anymore. So that's pretty impressive. He was like, well, fuck, let's go and do this.
Yeah,
and
I feel like he kind of, what's his name? The guy that directed the first two Harry Potter movies.
Chris Columbus, I believe?
Yeah, by the second one, he was like, I'm done. Like, I can't do this anymore. He was super burnt out. Like, and that's why the third one has a different director.
Yeah.
Which you can tell. Like, he also put, you know, everything he had in. I'm sure, you know, if you spend months and months and months working on something, like, you're the guy in charge, like, that's a big responsibility. It's a big deal.
Look, burnout is a bitch. Mm-hmm. All of us have been through it, and the only cure for that is to just step away and take care of yourself and get a break and throw yourself into something new that's not going to be as demanding. I think we can all agree, if Benioff and Weiss had acknowledged that reality, in many ways, I think we all would have been they would have been better off for it. If they didn't want to be on that show anymore, why do it?
Yeah.
Go somewhere else.
That's always going to be insane to me.
I know, right? Like, they ended Game of Thrones preemptively. As George R.R. Martin said in an interview recently, it could have gone beyond 10 seasons. The story
I like how
was
he was
there.
like, I pitched for 12, right? They basically, like, laughed in my face.
Who's laughing now? Who is laughing now?
Mm-hmm.
They haven't, like, worked on anything else, huh?
They were supposed to do a Star Wars trilogy. They were supposed to do a Star Wars. They really trusted Kathy Kennedy. That's another personality I don't know how you can even work with, considering how many people she goes through. Directors, like, I don't know. I don't even know. I can't come up with the analogy. Let's move on. Let's move on to what this is. So, as we mentioned last week, this is more or less 170, 80 plus years before Daenerys Targaryen, before the beginning of Game of Thrones as we know it. And I wasn't sure on this. That's why I asked David, and I think to some extent Alexis was dissatisfied with his responses. So from what I've come to understand, the source material for this particular story that's going on here in House of the Dragon is lifted from a actual legit text that George R.R. Martin has already written. So, just to be clear about that. And to me, I do want to give David credit, though, because he was the one that actually got me really interested in like what was happening in this show. And like, okay, let's go ahead and watch it. This past Sunday, I watched the premiere and I watched the new episode 2. And I think to me, and I share this with both of you, it's that that meme of Larry David, an infuriated Larry David as he's walking out the door, basically saying, fuck you, and I'll see you next Sunday. Which is like, and I think it was attached to a tweet which said, me not wanting to be interested or thinking I would be interested or invested in Game of Thrones again. And then, of course, they attach that. And it's like, well, fuck. There is just something about this world that's just so captivating almost immediately. And I do want to give the people that worked on the first episode in particular a lot of credit because I was hooked almost immediately. Like, okay, I love how it began with a prologue about the rather hideous thing that began with that the king was like, sorry, girl, you're a girl. I'm going to give it to my nephew. He's the king now. Okay, he's the king. Which, of course, that's what happens. But, of course, there you meet the characters. And you get a sense for where we are in this world. And by the end of that first hour, you've come to the realization that, fuck, I really have missed being in this world. I really have missed Game of Thrones. And I'm glad it's back. I think maybe to say it was amazing, it wasn't the best thing in the world, but it was a damn good first episode. I mean, you can't ask for better first episodes than that. Because we set the table. We have our players, we've got just enough, and we got a hook that teased us all the way that we're going to be watching all the way into the end of this season just because of that first episode. And you got a great flavor for all of the different personalities, the conflicts, and of course you have your share of nudity, violence, body horror, blood, tragedy. Yeah, all of the things that made Game of Thrones Game of Thrones. So to me, right now, look, one of the things you can take away with is, oh man, I let me get on her name because I don't want to mess it up, but I know it's Rhaenyra.
Rhaenyra.
I'm really interested in Rhaenyra right now. Like, you know, in the first episode, she's just kind of like mostly there, but you do see the potential for where she could go. But let's just say, at least for me, quite plainly, after the first 2 episodes, the Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, if that's her name, I believe, it is so sad that you already know what's going to happen because there is no one more competent than her to be the queen. And it's not even close. And I think on some level, some of them realize that. And some of them you see in these episodes are a bit taken aback by how capable she is. Because let me tell you something. She got shit done a lot faster and a lot more handily than a lot of these assholes who claim they know better would not have come close to. And already you see the benefit of this realm if she were to be handed the throne. Although, of course, because she has a vagina, everybody around her wants to get the king shacked up with literal children. Anyway. Yeah. A lot to take in, but my initial takeaways, very interested in Rhaenyra. Even though he is inept, he's still a good guy down there, the king, Viserys. And very fascinated to see where Daemon Targaryen goes. Because I can't tell you where it's going to go. Because he's not like... It's not a repeat of the Baratheons. You know, Stannis and... what was the other one? Stannis and... Was it Renly? Because Renly and Stannis were at war with each other, correct?
Yeah.
And this happened after their brother died, who was the king.
Mm-hmm.
So they were at war with each other. And of course, we know how that flailed out. It's not a repeat of that. This particular relationship with these two brothers is very multifaceted and very new for Game of Thrones. And it's not dealing with people who are mainly odious, like a Littlefinger or a Cersei. They are there, but for the most part, our main group of people here are more so good than they are. I mean, there's a lot of gray there to be sure, but they're likable people, for the most part. So I think that also is somewhat of an added benefit, that I like them and I want to see what happens to them, and also will make it that more difficult whenever the tragedies that will for sure happen. So yeah, I really have taken to the show. And of course, to me, I love just watching shows about successions. I love The Crown. Of course, I love the original Game of Thrones. And so right now I'm really feeling like The Crown not being around. So this is a great substitute in the meantime.
I feel the same way.
So yeah, I'm kind of loving this show already. So I'll go ahead and pass it on to, I don't know. David, did you want to say it before Alexis comes in? Because I'm sure Alexis will just overwhelm us with her thoughts.
Yeah, just go ahead, David. A lot. But yeah, honestly, I really enjoyed the second episode.
Okay, you don't have to go so fast. I'm not rushing you.
No, but Rhaenyra was for sure the standout in this episode. You can tell right away that she really wants to stick with the crown. She wants to learn how to properly rule and everything. But it also kind of sucks because everyone around there is kind of no, this isn't gonna happen. You're the heir, but it's not gonna happen. It's
like Kamala Harris, right? Oh, that's cute. You're the vice president, but you're not gonna be president, Kamala.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be president. That's literally what this is, in a way. Although, I'm sorry, no offense to Rhaenyra. She's not Kamala Harris. You were saying, David.
Yeah. Also, it was kind of cool seeing the king. I mean, not cool, I guess, but it just kind of showing more of the king on his king side of it. Because from the first episode, we mainly just saw him being a father, being a husband, and all that. But this time, we got to see him being a king, and just kind of really seeing the tough side of it. I guess that was. I
think really what you're seeing there. Yes, I think. You see, it's not great to be king all the time, but it's not great that he's the king, because what you're seeing in episode 2 is what was what Daemon was saying in episode 1, which is he doesn't even realize that he is being sucked dry by all those vampires around him. And it's you can tell deep down is a good man. And he's trying to make the best decisions possible. But it just seems like he's just incapable of doing that. Because one way or the other, he is being misled by people with different agendas. You have Otto Hightower, his hand, who clearly is very self-interested and is playing him for his own particular agenda, which he, of course, plays as under the guise of for the realm. And then you have other people who, of course, they want to try and see what they can get out of him. But already in the second episode, it's been set up so brilliantly where you've already seen the where it's breaking apart, and you can already see the particular challengers, shall we say, that will come to the crown. There is a reason for why they say the crown is weak at the moment, and it's because he doesn't seem. You see it in those moments with his people, his small council. He's very unsure of himself sometimes, and so he asks for everybody's opinion, but that only gets him so far. But you see, as you were saying, you're right. It is tough to be the king.
Yeah, and I was kind of thinking about it. You were saying that he wasn't making the best decisions, and I was kind of I keep hearing that because I saw it later on. Didn't see it the day it came out, And I was kind of curious, like when I'm watching it, I'm like, is this really like a super bad decision? Because like it feels like he's making just the best decision morally, you know? Because
That's the problem, though. The best decision morally is not necessarily the best decision for his own well-being sometimes.
for the crown.
So I think for the crown and for his own well-being in a sense, because of course, if he's replaced, he'll probably be killed. That's how these things go. So it's like, I can respect, in essence, right? Him choosing, I feel like his ultimate decision at the end of the second episode, you can tell from his perspective, was the compromise. He doesn't want to marry somebody, but he would rather be betrothed to somebody he already knows and is friendly towards than a literal child. And so he feels, you can tell in his heart of hearts, that the decision he makes is the compromise that will make everyone happy, that will appease both sides. But he doesn't even realize that in doing so, everyone got pissed off. Like half the people walked out of the room when he announced that. And not only did he further alienate Rhaenyra from him and his own daughter, like literally gonna marry his daughter's best friend. That's a different area of things, which we'll get to. But wait, there's also Corlys of Valerian, who has been pressing him and has been personally screwed over several times. His wife, Rhaenys, should be queen right now. Obviously, that's not something he'll get over. His own ships are being burned, and the king doesn't seem to care. And now, after he's offered his own daughter to be the next queen, he's rejected for the daughter of the hand, which that also seems particularly insulting. So much so that he goes over to Daemon to form some kind of an alliance and eventually a challenge to the crown. So he made seemingly the worst decision possible. Maybe not morally, but politically speaking, the worst decision. And I think that's just a taste of things to come. It's just pretty clear he's not that good at being king, and he's not going to be king much longer. That much is obvious.
Which sucks. Because he's...
he wants... yeah.
Because I don't just... Everyone there, he's a good guy, and it just sucks that we get to see that happening.
One of the things Game of Thrones reminds us is good guys just don't seem to be made for this kind of work. Look at Ned Stark. Look how hard Ned Stark tried to keep his morals and play the game. It ended up getting beheaded at the whim of Joffrey, of all people. Imagine going out like that.
Yeah, I was going to mention at the end of the second episode, when you see Rhaenyra's face, like shocked that he chose her best friend, I was like, wait, y'all didn't talk it over? Like, you were talking about him.
No, they did. They did talk it over. He just didn't tell her who he was going to pick. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was like, hold up. You were talking about choosing another wife. Why didn't you tell her right there and there? I feel like they could have come up with a compromise or something right there.
Yeah. It ain't just that, too. Alicent never once informed Rhaenyra that she's been talking to her father this entire time. Literally 6+ months in mourning, where Rhaenyra has repeatedly complained that her father has pushed her aside in a way and has kept her at distance. This entire time, Rhaenyra's own best friend has been providing that comfort to her own father. That's particularly spicy. Yeah, that was not a good move. And of course, that was the beginning of a war, probably. I mean, if we're being real, that decision was the beginning of a war. That's how these things go in Westeros. Yes. Any other thoughts, David, so far on the second episode, or just in general, from what you're enjoying on this show?
I mean, honestly, it's just those two, just the king and Rhaenyra, that are like the most interesting to me. I'm kind of hoping we see more of who's the best friend? What's the name? Alicent. I hope we see her more in the third episode, because I saw some pictures of what's gonna happen next, and I'm like, damn. So I don't know. I kind of hope like she somehow comes into her own, because this whole time she's just doing what her dad says, doing what she's gonna do, what the king says, and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if she moves up somehow or just stands up for herself at some point. And I'm curious what's gonna happen.
Yeah, man. Based on those previews, look, you got to give them credit. You got to give them credit for the fact that you think things couldn't get more uncomfortable than when the king went and saw Corlys's daughter. That, to me, was one of the most skin-crawling moments maybe ever. Just the realization. And I'm glad that Viserys was with us, too. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
But then he was like, you know what? 15's all right.
Yeah. But still, I mean, hey, we're in this reality where that's what they do anyway. So, I mean, at least... I mean, he should be considered a progressive champion by their standards. That he was like, yeah, nah, this is too sick even for me. Basically is what that whole thing was. That was bad. That was really, I mean, not bad as in like, oh, that was a bad scene. It was just like, that was just hard to watch.
Icky. Just the whole thing.
It was so gross.
Them walking together and like he's literally talking to her as a child and just, he doesn't know what to do. And then that comment that she made, she was like, my mom said I don't have to give you a child till I'm 14. I was like, no, why?
I mean, she basically say, my mom said I can't. I have to wait until I'm 2 years older to have sex with you. Basically, is to bed you, as they say. Wow. That was the thing. That was the moment I was referring to. That could have been blown into a whole controversy. Mm-hmm. Again, we still have more episodes to go, right? For this season, but yeah, it's yikes. So yeah, but even still, he somehow ended up making things far more uncomfortable for his own personal family with the choice he did make with Alicent. So props, I guess, there for managing to top that level of uncomfortableness. But yeah, Alexis, I've kept you waiting long enough. Go ahead. Go off. Your thoughts on House of the Dragon.
Okay.
Which I'm sure you must be feeling pretty high and mighty now because you were the only one that seemingly was like hyping the show up and the rest of us were like,
yes,
fuck you.
You guys are
fuck
crazy. Listen, I know last episode you guys said you didn't like the ending. And upon my rewatch of Game of Thrones, I agree. I watched a lot of the big episodes. I will say, I think the one that I got most excited in rewatching that I was genuinely like, this is a great fucking show, was where they blow up the church. Oh my god.
That's my favorite episode. That's my favorite.
Oh,
that's my favorite episode. Yes.
And, like I was trying to clean and do stuff. I couldn't.
No, you had to stop. You gotta stop. You're mesmerized by it. It's so good. Oh my god. It is so good.
It's so good. And I feel like every time because I don't watch it consistently, and every time that I watch it, it's like pretty like separated the amount of time.
Yeah,
and
you can make the argument that
all
was
over again.
Exactly,
and you're just like, oh my god.
You can make the argument that was the show at its peak, like it's like it like the whole episode's
like, even
a banger.
then, like you have Battle of the Bastards after that. You have
wasn't it before?
No.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it happens in the episode?
Oh, I think it does. Yeah. And then you also have I think Hardhome was after, no, before.
No, it was before.
And then you have all the meetings with all the Stark kids and all that. Like you still have pretty big moments after that, but that episode, oh my god.
One of my bigger disappointments with the series, among other ones for sure, was what was really teased at the end of the season 6 finale, when like they proclaimed, you know, Queen Cersei was she's gone full darkness at this like queen bitch of darkness. I wanted her to be far more, you know, badass bitch queen here, you know, and like kill more people and be more like calculated and ruthless and smarter, and she was in certain instances.
I mean,
I mean, particularly her
even
showdown with
rewatching.
Daenerys.
Huh?
I mean the end. But I'm
No,
talking about, like,
But,
how she went out.
She did.
Go.
Daenerys
No.
went with the whole... two whole armies, 3 dragons, and by the end she had, one army?
Right.
And
Yeah.
1 dragon. Like, she did pretty good. I mean...
That's true. However, that's very true. I still wish the writers would have come up with a way to make it more even balanced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, like it felt way too easy for Daenerys to just like tear down everything. Like, what happened to all the wildfire she had?
Yeah.
That could have come in handy to kill at least one dragon if Daenerys had more than one at that point. But like, Cersei is more capable than that. Like, she's much more conniving. And my disappointment ultimately was she was defeated rather easily.
Mm-hmm.
So there was that.
Okay. We're kind of gonna go into it a little bit. I think that my biggest disappointment, and I think especially now with this show, are the White Walkers.
Yes.
I think that, to me, that was... Because you start off Game of Thrones with the White Walkers.
And
like,
then it's been resolved by the last episode. Like, they're not even in the main conflict.
It's not even the big bad anymore.
Like, to me, what... I know...
Also, I don't know if you've rewatched them, but they did remaster them. And they look... And also, in my rewatch, I realized that was the first time that I had seen them on TV.
Really?
Because I only saw them through my phone. And,
really?
And David actually reminded me that the White Walker episode, that it was dark, like super dark when it first came out, and everybody was
in Winterfell.
Yeah,
the Battle of Winterfell. Yeah, it was like you can't see barely anything. Like, you have to turn the brightness all the way up.
I mean, it's always been good, but like it looks really good now.
That's good to hear, because that there was that needed it for sure.
Yeah.
That particular episode, and look. From a direction standpoint, the episode was amazing, sure. But I think, no, what you were saying there is correct. I don't want to hold, like, any show to, like, what I picture in my head. But what I've always pictured in my head about the ending of the show was all of it happening at once. Mm-hmm. Daenerys, Cersei, the White Walkers, everyone in a battle. Like, you didn't even need to have, like, Cersei joining, like, the main heroes. It could be, like, a 3-way fight. Like... Yeah. A fight for life itself at King's Landing, where everything burned to the ground. It did, but not in the way that it should have done. It should have been, I should say. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the White Walkers at the end of the day should have been the big bad, and they kind of were dispensed with halfway through the last season.
There's still like 2 episodes left.
That never really bothered me. That the White Walkers.
That bothered me because I always thought that was always like that was the end game. You know, ultimately. I mean, you could say that the throne was, but I don't know.
I mean,
to me,
look,
the White Walkers were like,
but it plays into it because, like, the Night King very well, like he was also in his own way, like making his play for the Iron Throne by just wiping out all life itself. So I mean, like, to me, it adds in more mystery and intrigue to see like who is the one that's going to end up. And of all the choices, the Night King, Cersei, Daenerys, Jon Snow. Mm-hmm. Of all the choices, we were left with Bran the Broken.
Yeah.
I would have been. I mean,
it makes sense, but also like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, I mean, that was just the problem with
Bran was always like my least favorite story in the whole thing. Like, the only thing I, like, remember is hold the door. That's it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Intense. That was so great.
That was
in class when I saw that episode. And I was all the way in the back. It was a big class, too, so luckily, like, I was in the back.
I remember, we went to work the next day, because at that time I was working at a fair, and everybody was watching the show, but we didn't realize that everybody was watching the show until we went in the next day and somebody yelled that out, and all of us at the same time were like, "Oh no!"
No, but yeah, I was in the back of the class.
Go ahead, David.
And after that, the whole hold the door thing happened. I was just looking around like, "Oh my god!" And I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
It's so good. No, that show was amazing. It had some of the best, like, jaw-dropping, oh my god, what the fuck is going on moments. Like Hard Home, you mentioned, when out of nowhere, they're in the snow.
Oh, I remember what I was holding my breath the entire time.
The Night King shows up, and shit just goes down. Like, holy fuck, that was so good.
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, the ending of the show, although I do agree, it wasn't great. It was, yeah.
It's not what,
but
it could have been better.
I think that everything else that the show does makes up for it, because when it was at its peak, there was no stopping it. It was, oh my god, so good.
Yeah.
But what I was saying about the White Walkers is clearly they needed to be bigger. And we go into the first episode of House of the Dragons, or Hot D, like Mr. Martin likes to call it.
He calls it that?
Yeah, he like
Hot D?
fully is like, yes, Hot D.
I love it.
So
I love
good.
it.
That's really good. It's better
He
than
put it on his blog.
It's better than got.
I need to write that down for the title of the episode. Let me see here.
Yes, the D. How D, I mean.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
Good enough.
But, okay. So, aside from that, so yes, I was really excited for the show. I missed it so much. I loved Sundays and going home and watching it, and nobody in the house watched it but me, but you would hear me screaming from my room, and then I would come out with a big smile on my face every night. I loved it so much. So I was so pumped. I was so excited. And honestly, I think like the thing that got me more excited was the fact that Matt Smith was going to be in it.
Of course, Matt Smith is
And
a treasure.
the fact that he is playing George R.R. Martin's favorite character.
Ooh.
So I was like, ooh, it's going to be so good. I can't.
And it's made even better, I would say, his performance. Look, I think Matt Smith gets a bad rap these days because he seems to play a lot of villains lately. Even though, I don't know why that's a bad thing. He's so good at it. Look how amazing he was in The Crown. But don't forget, this is the guy who got a lot of his big first breaks from Doctor Who was very whimsical and very bright and warm. And I think what you're seeing already from his performance in this show is it in and of itself can be multifaceted. He's not a bad guy per se. He actually has some tender moments if you see them there.
Like
yeah, exactly.
So yeah. And then I started so one thing that is worth noting, I have not read the
sex
books.
scenes? Oh, you what?
So I have not read the book. Fake fan. I read the first one. But from what I understand is that the show is based on a book, Fire and Blood, which kind of tells the whole Targaryen story. Mm-hmm. And this particular era that we're in is called the Dance of the Dragons, which is a big Targaryen civil war. Which, if you go back and watch the episodes of Game of Thrones, everything that happens on the show is spoiled by one Mr. Joffrey.
You mentioned it was a conversation Joffrey had with his bride-to-be, Marjorie.
Yes.
This would have put it in what, season 4?
I think so.
Probably, yeah, because that was when he was killed off anyway.
Yeah, so if you don't want to know what happens,
it when he died.
Don't watch that.
I loved it when he died. That was an amazing death. That was great. I was like, yes, fuck you. I loved it so much.
I love the meme that came out of it, where he was just like all shocked and everything. It was good.
So yeah. So, I mean, I guess kind of spoilers, but like, it's also set in the past. So I don't know. But yeah, so this is like
Real quick though, Alexis, I want to say I think you can enjoy this show without even having seen Game of Thrones. That's a positive for me.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen any Game of Thrones,
I started watching it with my dad, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we're watching this," and he's only seen the first episode of Game of Thrones.
Oh really? He hasn't seen any of the other ones?
No.
Oh okay. Well,
So
hopefully he likes
excited.
this one. He can watch the old one then.
Yeah. So yes, I know that you guys were talking a little bit about it last episode. About like the beginning of the first episode where King Jaehaerys, which is the one in the flashback, the one who names Viserys king. You guys didn't mention that was his daughter.
I didn't see the episode. I didn't know what happened. That's why I was completely dependent on David. Okay, I didn't know what happened.
I don't know.
But like, so it was.
I don't know
names.
the bloodline. I don't know.
Rhaenys was King Jaehaerys' firstborn daughter, who at that point had not been passed down the crown once, but 2 times. Before she was born, the king had a bunch of sons. So it was supposed to go to one of them. And then her mom got pregnant and, she was born. And then I think they had another kid. But all of his sons died. And the only one still alive was Rhaenys. So when they had the other son, like, she was supposed to be queen, but then they had the other son. So basically what happened to Rhaenyra, it happened to her. Well, spoilers ahead. I don't know if you guys saw the trailer ahead. And so when this happened again, obviously she was gonna be butthurt her whole life because her dad was like, no, you're my daughter, but you're not gonna be king again or queen again. And this also put like a big kind of wedge between King Jaehaerys and his wife, because at that time their reign was supposed to be like super peaceful and like they were really good leaders, and they kind of co-led him and his wife. So the fact that like he said no to his daughter, his wife was like, what the fuck? Like,
can I ask for a bit of a clarification, because I wasn't clear. Based on that prologue, the king opened up something and he was reading it. And from what I recall,
yeah,
and
so
I wasn't
they
sure,
basically put it into a vote.
Was he part of that vote?
I don't know about that.
Because I think my impression is he didn't want to be the one to make the choice, and so he formed a great council.
Yeah.
To make that choice for him.
I mean, maybe, but maybe it was like anonymous. I don't know.
But still,
yeah.
it's like
the fact
punting.
that he couldn't say like himself, like, or name her the heir,
Right.
Like that's still like, because he could have done that, but he didn't.
Right.
And so that drove a big wedge between him and his wife. And again, their reign was very peaceful, which is a big thing, because when Viserys takes the throne, there's like a saying in like the book or whatever, saying that in the time of Jaehaerys' reign, people were able to plant their way of like kind of gain more control and stuff like that. Like it was peaceful, but underneath like it wasn't, type of thing. So when Viserys comes to play, that's when everybody starts kind of putting hands in everywhere and doing stuff. And because Viserys was not a good king, shit hits the fan.
Yeah, the vultures consumed everything.
Yeah. And I kind of want to talk about like each character individually because so much happens.
Go ahead.
So I kind of want to talk about Viserys first because I find him so interesting. Oh, another thing to note is that one thing that George said before starting the show is that everybody in this show are shitheads. You may like characters, but you're not gonna like what they do. Like all of these characters are going to be morally gray characters. Even Rhaenyra at one point might. Like, they all do shitty things to each other. So he, like, basically said, like, it's not going to be like in Game of Thrones where, you know, the Starks are good and the Lannisters are bad. No. Everybody's on the same playing field. Everybody are all shitheads. So I'm excited to see that. But I'm also nervous because of how people are going to respond to it.
Yeah, there's already
it's already happened.
Yeah, so there's been a really bad response with the king choosing his the pregnancy thing. So
yeah, but so the way that I saw that was like So what we're talking about is in the first episode, the king was gonna get an heir. He was so sure that it was gonna be a boy. And the wife, like, you know, she's giving birth, and the way that they play out the scene is so interesting.
Yeah.
Like, super, I love the writing in the show. It's so good. But the wife ends up having, like, complications and stuff, and he basically has to choose because obviously it's back then and they have to choose. Back then, but okay, whatever. Between the wife and...
Well, yeah, it's in the day before modern medicine, obviously. Yeah. Well before that, and it's
he ends up
ugly.
Like, I was talking to Dave about this. Like, we know his decision is to save the baby because he is king and he needs an heir. And I know people were complaining that he should have asked her. He should have talked to her. But he didn't. And that's the point. And I think that people aren't understanding that. That he had the choice to choose between them, and he had the choice to tell her, but he didn't. And that eats him up. Because he is a good person. He just makes shitty decisions. And he's not a good king.
Alexis, can I also ask for a point of clarification in that moment as well? The Grand Maester, did he... And obviously we know that men of his stature have their own machinations in mind, and so they can always, like, skew things with their words. But was it... Because I saw some people talk about that moment as no matter what, they weren't going to be able to save her. She was dying no matter what. And that his only option was to... You can make that argument,
but we don't know.
We don't know. Okay.
Like, I think that, like, it doesn't matter because he made
the choice for her.
Yeah.
And that the way that moment was executed was horrific.
Yeah.
And when it came to the what we know as a C-section, when they were basically about to open up the belly, I couldn't watch. I looked away. I couldn't see that. That was like, no, I'm not watching this. This is disgusting.
Yeah. And he ends up losing anyways. Both of them end up dying in the end. Which I don't think people understood what the point of that was. I don't know. Because I feel like that moment tells you everything that you need to know about this person. Like, that whole... Even at the funeral, even when he has to sit down with his... what's it called? Counselors, and they're pressuring him to get married a few hours after.
That was...
Well, I mean, and
he's like, bro, what the fuck?
Wasn't that 6 months?
No.
The first one. Shit.
Hours after.
In the first episode, like the same day that the funeral happened.
The same day.
I love how he chewed him out and was like, "Fuck you! Yeah. I'm getting the fuck out of here." That was like, no, this is not happening.
Not only that though, but because of them putting pressure on getting an heir, like that was the reason why he chose to save the baby and like not talk to his wife. So like literally, it's his counsel's. Like you can't, I mean, it was a bad thing what the king did, like not asking the wife and all that. But you can totally blame the council too that like his wife and son are dead.
Yeah, it's like just to bring up this matter of an heir after the previous one died after having lived for a few hours is very insensitive, to say the least. Very, very insensitive. And so, yes, go ahead.
And then you go to the second episode, and you also, you kind of get bits and pieces here also.
Alexis, real quick. Oh, yeah. I believe this happened in the first episode. His own hand. Did he not basically whore out his own daughter?
Yes.
To go and talk to him the night of the funeral?
Mr. Hightower in a second. Ooh.
Okay, just making sure that happened the same night.
Yes.
Like the exact same night, okay.
Yes, and then in the second, again, you see bits and pieces everywhere when people are asking him to take action on different things, like not even just the pirates or whatever, like anything, make something happen. And he's like, no, it's okay. It's okay.
I would say that sounds a lot like a certain president, but lately the president that we have hasn't been acting that way, so it's been a little strange. So I would say like pre-August Joe Biden, that's exactly what this Viserys guy sounds like. Like, no, we don't got to do anything.
Yeah. He just wants to chill. You know, he doesn't want any trouble. And that's his nature. Like you guys were saying, like, he's a good person. He's a good guy, but he's just shitty king. Shitty king. And that whole thing with Alicent, and it's like it's icky because she is 15. But I can see also how much it was like torturing him. Because he doesn't know how to be, like, say these things because his wife just died. And he loved his wife. Mm-hmm. You know? So he feels guilty about that. And you see it when he's talking to Rhaenyra. You know, like, that's the only thing that he mentioned was, you know, I loved your mom. She was we're never gonna know peace. Or how we had peace with her type of thing, you know? So he feels guilty about that. And then everybody's pressuring him. So he's like, what the fuck do I do? And then he's asking everybody for advice. And everybody tells him. Also, I don't know if you guys know the whole Valyrian story. So they're all Targaryens. Everybody that has white hair is a Targaryen. Even they are.
I feel like, again, if you're familiar with Game of Thrones, you should know big incest energy.
Yes. So they actually also come from Valyria, which is where the Targaryens come from. But they left before the Targaryens. And the only difference is that they don't have dragons. And because they're from Valyria, Valyria is they think that it has like magical powers or whatever. So they kind of all mesh together. So that's why Rhaenys and him are together. And so that is like another reason why they offer her daughter, because she's a Targaryen and they want the blood to stay together or whatever, because they think that if you're a Targaryen, you can only ride a dragon if you're a Targaryen. You know, so they want to keep that, like, they do have a reason, you know, but also, yeah, they want to move up in the world. But it's also good to know that they are the richest family in Westeros at this point in time, even more than the Lannisters were in Game of Thrones. So they're like rich. And which is also good to know why he's so bothered that the king isn't doing anything about the pirates, because that is his area. They sail ships. He's called the shipmaster or whatever, or ship. Sea ship. I forgot. And so that area that the pirates are in, that's where he gets all his goods from. That's where he gets all his money. So that's why he's so upset that the king.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like any wealthy guy, go ask Jeff Bezos, go ask Elon Musk, go ask Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
They don't give a fuck what's going on until their own shit's attacked.
Yeah, they're also still mad about Rhaenys not getting the throne. And the fact that this king is being an idiot when they're right there.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be mad? Like, that would be a constant, like, insult every day that this guy who has no business being here was picked over Rhaenys, who, by all accounts, we haven't seen too much of her, but it's hard to believe she'd do a worse job.
Though.
Yeah, it's hard to see she'd do a worse job than Mr. Targaryen here.
And so, again, he's asking everybody, like, what should he do, blah, blah, blah. Also, he doesn't tell anybody about Alicent. The only one that knows is Alicent and her dad.
Yeah,
So-
pretty, by design. Well, the king doesn't tell anybody, but, like, on their part, I believe Alicent was instructed. Well, actually, the king didn't want Alicent to discuss their conversations with Rhaenyra.
Mm-hmm.
And I would also imagine Hightower was, like, directing her to not divulge any information.
Yeah. And I think that she does care about the king, because I think that she's genuine in the conversations that they have.
Right.
But she's 15.
Yeah.
Well, yes, that's the primary thing, but also, like many marriages in this world, it rarely ever happens to cross into the territory of love. Love is hardly ever involved in these marriages, and I think really the best that these people can hope for is to find a companion that they're friendly with.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good enough. Let's get married, because what's the alternative? A complete stranger or a child?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, 14 is a child still, but again, for their standards.
Yeah.
Wait.
It is also another thing about this the king.
The King Viserys.
Is he is not a dragon rider.
They
which
mentioned
in
that.
the Targaryen lore is a big thing. Which goes back to the conversation that they had in front of...
Why?
Okay. So, what had happened was... one of the dragons that came from Valyria, which is called... Balon... Hold on, let me look it up. It's I think there was like 3 dragons that came out with the Targaryens.
Well, while you looked it up, I was just gonna say when Alicent talked to the king for the first time, like after the wife's death, I found it kind of funny, just because the whole time he was kind of like, "What are you doing here?" Just
Literally, right?
It's
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like
it's a bit sus.
like, I don't understand why you're talking to me.
Yeah. So the dragon is called Balerion the Black Dread. That was the dragon that Aegon the Conqueror rode. And I think there was one other person who rode it. And then it was Viserys. But he only rode it one time when he was like 15. And then a year later, he died. And after that, he didn't want to take another dragon. And I think that he is scared of them.
Oh.
Because in that first episode, when he's like, the dragons are like a power that we should never have tampered with, basically. That they hold too much power. Because they see themselves as gods. Like, there's churches and stuff where they did set them up, but that was like, I was like, okay, let them have that. But they see themselves as this like great power because they ride the dragons. And I think he like kind of realizes like, we're just people.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's a little bit of fear and a little bit of like, we're not like, if you take them away, then we wouldn't be here, basically. Which is interesting because in the family, if you don't ride a dragon and you're a Targaryen, there's something wrong with you. Like, you're like the black sheep of the family, basically.
All right, this is a question, again, as a novice here. And because, of course, Daenerys was the only Targaryen in Game of Thrones, this is where I would have these questions. So Daenerys had the ability to, like, not die through fire. Like,
that
she's
was
just like
pure coincidence.
Okay, so
Literally.
this is not a trait for every
No.
Targaryen. It was just a Daenerys thing.
Yeah.
Okay. See, then I would understand more so why the king would be like, yeah, I would want to keep my distance from these guys. Because, again, it's like, if you see like Jordan Peele's movie Nope, that has a big theme of like taming nature and particularly like wildlife. Like, some things you can't really control.
Mm-hmm.
And some things, if you're not careful, will consume you for even trying to do that. And yeah, that's interesting. I wonder where that's gonna go.
Yeah. And another big thing is that yes, he's scared of dragons, but I just think he's scared in general, and that's why he doesn't do anything, because I think that in his head, the White Walkers is like taking over him. And he's like, oh shit, like everything is calm. Nobody tell me anything is wrong. You know, this is how we're going to defeat them. If they come, everything is fine. Like, I think that that's his way of thinking. I could be wrong, but from what I've seen so far, that's what I'm getting.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any sense how many dragons are around right now?
By the end of the show, I think there's going to be about 17.
But right now? There's more than 17?
No. There's not as many, but there's quite a bit.
Okay. Because I also... This is a question I had in my mind when this whole thing happened where in episode 2 it's revealed that... And it ended up being a stunt, which is hilarious. That Daemon stole a dragon egg, and then he sent an invitation. Oh yeah, I'm getting married, even though he wasn't, and having a baby. He's not. Just to like basically stir up drama where none needed to be. But you know, he's a bit in that mood. I thought it quite hilarious how Otto Hightower was like, "No, Your Majesty, I'll just got a couple of guys with me, and we're gonna go in your place, and we're gonna get this situation settled." And so they get to Dragonstone. They meet up with Daemon, and things look like they're about to break out into a fight. Then out of nowhere, oh yeah, they have dragons. A dragon pops up. And in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck was Otto thinking was going to happen here?
Something that they mentioned in the first episode, the Queen That Never Was, that these people have never seen war. They don't know how to do these things. Yeah.
They're that incompetent.
Because that's how, like, when the other king was in power, like, nothing happened. And so when this king came in power, that's when people started taking over things that they shouldn't have. And he's not doing anything about it. So that's why this is called the Book of Blood and Fire. Because many people are going to die. Many people are going to die. I don't know if you remember.
Stupidly, as a
episode,
matter of fact.
Where they go to King's Landing to talk to Cersei. And she mentions that was the beginning of the end for her family. Yeah, this is that story.
Yeah. It would seem to be that way, but it also at the same time, like, I would expect a much higher caliber of an intellect from somebody who thinks himself the hand of the king to he's just like surprised. You bought a dragon? Oh, I didn't know that. Like, they were about to die.
Yeah.
I mean, and basically then Rhaenyra came in and saved their asses. Like, literally. Which that was a great move right there. She was amazing.
Yeah.
Just the way she walked past everyone and everything. She's just like, hey, I did your job.
Yeah. And then her and her dad's relationship is very interesting too. Because he basically named her Heir just because he didn't want to name Daemon Heir.
I know. That's the thing that.
But he knows. I know. This is the part that makes everybody angry because she truly. First of all, this is all she's known her whole life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she's cupbearer. She hears all these conversations. She obviously she doesn't. Her mind doesn't stay quiet and is like, oh, la, la, la. No, like she's thinking of ways that she can figure this out. And the way that they portrayed her was kind of like a combination of Arya and Daenerys, where she is fully capable of doing these things, but she's a girl.
Yeah.
And
no, I was gonna say, like, the thing that bothered me in the second episode was that the entire time it never really seemed like the king was like committing to making her the heir, like preparing her to be king.
Yeah, 6 months passed by and she was still in the same position.
Mm-hmm.
And that conversation that they have when she gets back from
Dragonstone.
Oh no, not even then. When they're sitting down having dinner and she's like apologizing for speaking, and he's like, "Oh, you'll learn." Like, not even giving her advice for the future, like, not.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Not even
like,
that.
She
was trying to say
intend for her to become queen.
More than that, she was also trying to further explain her thought process.
Yeah,
and he was like, he didn't want to listen to that either.
Mm-hmm.
He just kind of like brushed it off. It's like, it's okay, you will learn.
I feel.
All as a matter of fact.
When?
Yes, David.
I feel like I feel like really the best decision he could have made is just not marrying anyone at all and being like, hey, I have an heir. She's right there. You know, like, deal with it and all that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would think that the king would be able to muster the balls to, like, assert himself in that authority, you know? That's what I would do. Like, fuck
Wait,
you, bitches.
yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to marry
Also,
somebody else. Like,
why didn't...
you want an heir? There's your heir. Deal with it. Shit.
But also, like, that guy with all those ships, does he not have a son?
Oh, Corlys?
Huh?
Does he not have a son?
Yeah, he does.
Or is he too young? Or...
I believe the 12-year-old he was trying to give away. They're twins.
Oh, okay.
Well, it would be much less egregious, because how old is Rhaenyra supposed to be in this...
I think
15.
In this time? 15, and then he would be 12. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's a potential match where, technically speaking, Rhaenyra would be queen either way, but if there's a dick on the Iron Throne, that's what will obviously be given the attention to, right? Like, how would that work, honestly? So, like, for, say, example, let's just think this through. Rhaenyra is proclaimed, well, she is already the heir, but she becomes queen, and then she marries Corlys Valerian's son. What happens in that situation? I would assume that the realm would, even though, of course, Rhaenyra is queen, but if there's a queen that has a king, well, then that would probably make then Valeria the king. Right? Mm-hmm. That's how these things work, right?
And so I'm just saying, like,
or am I?
They're still like related and all that, but like, it just, to me, I'm like, if you're gonna do that either way, why couldn't you just focus on?
It does make you wonder something, though, David. Then I wonder perhaps if that's the mentality we have here, how much is Corlys pissed off that his wife got passed over more so than he's upset that maybe he could be considered the king? Because Rhaenys was supposed to be the queen.
No, I'm telling you, they're both very upset by this decision.
Of course they would be. Those two are the ones you keep an eye on. And the king doesn't seem to be aware of that. Mm-hmm. You keep an eye on those two.
They did warn him. They did warn him in the second episode.
I mean, to be fair, yes, that's true. They're being very nice. They're saying it to his face. Hey, watch out.
Yes. But yes, I'm excited to see what happens with Rhaenyra, because again, I haven't read the books, but I kind of know more that happens, and I'm excited to see it. Hopefully.
It is interesting, though, because the Mad King was on the throne 2 decades before the beginning of season 1 of Game of Thrones. So, is that to suggest that Targaryens still proclaimed the throne all that way up until almost the beginning of Game? That is a long reign. That is a very long reign.
There's
Goddamn.
From Aegon to Viserys, there is about, I want to say, like 3 or 4 kings in between. And then from him to the Mad King, I think about the same, 2 or 3 maybe?
And there were a whole bunch in Game of Thrones.
Yep.
In successive order. We went from what? What was his name? Robert
Baratheon.
Robert Baratheon. We went from him to Joffrey, and then from Joffrey to Tommen.
Yes.
And then from Tommen to Cersei. And then from Cersei to... Does Daenerys count?
For a day? For an hour?
I guess we'll throw her in there. So Daenerys, and then it went to Bran.
Oh my god. Yep. Anyways.
Quite the unstable time.
Yes. What was I gonna say? Also, that shot of her on her dragon, the opening scene. Oof.
Oh, yeah.
So excited. Oh, and the bridge where she's like
on the clouds and everything.
Like in the clouds. Oh my god.
That was good.
And then she just like shows up and they have saddles.
I know, right? Yeah. They have saddles. It's like, who knew that was
I
a
actually
thing?
really like Damon's dragon though too. Just the way
I
and then
know,
that
he's
little
so
squeaking,
creepy, but it's so good.
the squeaking sound that it makes and everything. But also just
he has a deviated septum.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned
the dragon. Why?
He's a deformed dragon. That's why his neck is all long.
Well,
I was gonna say I just like the way he looks. His CGI looks because he looks almost rubbery, almost like it could be
I'm glad to see they didn't cheap out with the budget on this show.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, no, each episode is like 20 million.
Jesus Christ!
I think there were some shots of like the city that looked kind of weird, but I mean, the dragons what counts.
Yeah, and the only thing that they do more of a lot of on the show is the CGI, because in Game of Thrones they did more location sets, whereas here it's more CGI because people kept snooping.
Yeah. Although you can tell on some level it is a little bit more digital, but it's still really good effects work. I mean, look, the money is there. It works just fine. I barely notice it unless I'm staring at it for a long time. But it's so good. And the sets more than make up for it, because the sets are real and they're there and they're amazing. And it's also, it is almost 200 years before Game of Thrones. It's nice to see a little bit of the differences, because the Sept of Baelor is very different. The outward architecture than how it is when we see in Game of Thrones. The Red Keep still looks more so the same.
Under construction.
Yes, that's true. But you're also wondering at the same time, how much are we gonna get to see the Lannisters or the Starks, or do those people come into play? Not that I need that to happen, but you are also curious of like what other players are around. And what is interesting though, what some I've seen have been floating out there as a potential cameo, the only one that could work, Melisandre. Mm-hmm. Because she'd be alive at this point, still wandering the earth. So I don't know what involvement she would have, but if you want to make it happen for, of course, as we always say, for story purpose, not for a
I wonder if she's
shameless
gonna
cameo.
be. Oh well, no, because I think they already know about the prophecy. But I wonder if she's gonna be the one to tell them if they're gonna change that little detail.
I mean, they could do that.
That would be interesting. Because then like, she's the one that was like in the end all about. Because she was always about that, no? Like she was always like, oh,
the fire of Song and Ice, basically.
Yeah,
That's at least her Lord of Light. Like her point was
which is
to ward
also
off.
interesting. Because how does she know? Because at this point, only the Targaryens know. Because, I think Aegon, the Conqueror, is the one who had the vision. Because that's why he took over Westeros.
Yeah, remind me. You've seen the episodes recently more than I have. Melisandre's visions were very vague, right? Like, I don't think she knew all of the details up until the very end, almost.
That's why all those people died when she would go visit them.
Including Shireen.
Yeah.
So that was awful.
Because she was looking for Jon Snow, but she didn't know that she was looking for Jon Snow.
She knew nothing of Jon Snow.
Yes. So, interesting. That would be really cool if they did, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. The show's so good anyways. I mean, to me, like, I get really bothered when the show makes, like, any show, makes, like, its tie-ins and Easter eggs and cameos a priority. Marvel Studios, basically. I'm fine with it being there as long as that's toppings to the story and the character and what we want out of these things.
Yeah, which is interesting how they added A Song of Ice and Fire into this show.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
That is not in the book. Because I don't think I mentioned this, but the book that the show is based off of, it's basically like a two-hand account put together. Like two separate people are like telling the story, but they were not there for the story.
Yeah.
And so they're basically kind of going off about, like, word of mouth, I guess. And so in the book, it's not mentioned that the Targaryens are the ones that know about A Song of Ice and Fire, or that Aegon is the one that had that vision. Like, we didn't know up until that point in the show.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It adds a little bit of new lore that puts things into perspective. To me, the whole mention of that prophecy of the Song of Ice and Fire, to me, that's one of the better handled connections to the larger universe of any franchise. It actually, like, usually that would, like, oh God, roll my eyes, they're mentioning the thing that we all know of. But here, it's like, it actually adds more context to, like, why nobody knew what was going to happen. Like, with this White Walker, that there was, like, you know, old stories and prophecies, but, like, nobody was expecting what was going to happen. But it turns out all this time, the Targaryens did. That's why they were there in the first place. But it was their own, you know, warring with each other that caused that piece of history to be lost.
Yeah. Well, right now, people are saying that, what's it? Rhaegar? Dany's brother? Jon Snow's dad? That he was the last one to know because he was heir to the throne for the Mad King.
The Mad King, yes.
But obviously he died. And so he never got to tell anybody. And so that's why it never got to Dany, which is also like a big tragic thing because she was alone. Like not even, what's her other brother's name?
It doesn't matter.
I love him.
I mean... He died,
he even
didn't he? Like,
didn't
early
know
on?
about the prophecy because he was an heir. Because it's supposed to be like a king and heir thing.
Right.
And what's it called? So that makes it more tragic for Dany that she didn't know about this important thing. But she ultimately, like, did defeat him. So that's interesting.
Yes, it is. A lot of lore here, but all interesting lore as well. And it leaves us in a place where I'm very interested to see where things are going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I can expect more drama to be coming up, that's for sure.
Yes. I think the character that I'm most excited to see is Damon.
Yes.
He's And then another thing that I wanted, because I like this a lot. Well, at least I noticed it. But that scene where he says the whole air for a day thing.
Yes. That was, see, if he had only kept his mouth shut.
Here is the thing. I think that was the creators being like using that as like a direct thing to the books, because that's how the books are. That he said that thing, or well, some people are saying that he didn't, but I believe that he did say that. But I don't think that he meant it in the way that Otto Hightower said it.
Clearly he didn't. And Otto is so smug. Otto is hell bent on getting rid of Damon.
Because
Clearly
that
he twisted
scene
the words.
Is in the books, but it's how Otto said it. But if you see it in the show, like, he's obviously like sad about what happened. Like, he kind of is blowing off steam and stuff.
You see the show, even though Viserys can't see it, Rhaenyra sees it, but Viserys can't see it. Damon actually loves his family and he loves his brother. And unlike a lot of the more odious figures that we're used to in Westeros from the other show, he has certain boundaries that he will not cross, it seems like. And I think one of the more memorable moments of the last episode was when he is meeting with Corlys, and Corlys he feels free to badmouth Viserys. Again, I would also say rightfully so. There's a lot of bad things to say. And of course, Damon has said a lot of bad things, but even was like, I get to say these things, you don't.
Yeah.
Basically. So, again, that does hold my interest, because we're not dealing with people who are, very black and white. They're multidimensional, you know? And there are actual human beings in there.
Even
while
with
trying to play
Otto,
this game. Yes.
I believe that he does care about the crown, and he does care about the realm and what happens. Like, when he's giving the king advice, I think that he's being very genuine.
Right.
But he is still climbing up that ladder.
I mean, I thought it pretty ambitious, because basically it was pretty fine, the move he made, because basically he got his daughter to be the next queen. Like, he got his line in there. And I'm like, wow. And he didn't even try that hard.
Nope.
Not at all.
He said, go put on your mother's dress.
That was one of the other icky moments in the show.
But he's also such a little bitch. I hate that scene. I mean, yes, the whole daughter scene is not good. Or I don't hate it, but I just, he's such an asshole. Where he's talking to the king, and he's talking about Corlys and his daughter, like, asking Otto for advice. Clearly, Otto knows what's going on between him and Alicent. But he's also telling the king, like, no, you need to find another wife. You need to get another heir. And he uses his wife as like a woe is me type of thing. When he's like, like, I wouldn't want to be in your position. Like, I know what you're going through, and I wouldn't want to be where you're at. Asshole. That's such a shitty move. That's so messed up.
Yeah, I mean, another baller move he could have made. Resign, coronate Rhaenyra, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how that would be received, but it would get it done and over with, and then just leave to go somewhere else. But he is right when he says that it is quite precarious, their situation. It's just he and her left. You got to watch out for themselves because they could
Daemon,
go away.
Viserys, and Rhaenyra, they're the only 3 Targaryens at this point.
That's insane. That's dangerously low.
Yep. That's why Daemon is so angry also, because he's like, I'm right here. Like they know that they care about each other. They know, you know? And that's why he's so angry, because he's like, we're the only 3 left, and you're not.
Well, Rhaenys qualifies, right? As a Targaryen?
Oh, yeah, I guess.
Does her children qualify as Targaryens, or like half Targaryens, half Valyrians?
Half. Because all 3 of them are full. Because Viserys' wife was his sister. Or cousin. What? His wife was his sister or his cousin or something. And then the king before him, they were siblings.
Educate me here real quick. At what point did incest become a bad thing in Game of Thrones?
It's always been a bad thing.
Yet the royalty were allowed to do that?
Because again, the Targaryens think that they are these great beings, practically gods, so the blood has to stay in the family. It can't peek outside. But it's always been a bad thing in this world. And that's why they're also kind of against all the churches and all that also, because the churches are the ones that were really on their ass about it. And I believe it was the king, Jaehaerys, that he came up with a deal with the church, because they went against their mother's wishes to marry each other. Because even she was like, I don't know about that. But they made a deal with the church that only they could do that.
Of course,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't that sound like the church?
Yes.
They'll go ahead and cave in on their values for power over mostly everybody else.
Yes.
Go figure. Yeah.
But yes, I am excited. I'm so excited. I can't wait to watch the rest. One thing that I do have a little bit, not an issue, but I'm kind of scared as to how people are going to receive it. Mainly because I think that the cast right now is so good, and a lot of people are noticing how good they are.
That's, yes.
And
yeah, what you were going to say, yeah.
I think it's after episode 5. The 4 of them are gonna change, and
some of them get swapped.
4.
It's like it's like The Crown, but instead of like happening every 2 seasons, it happens
mid-show.
In the middle of the season, where some, not all, some of the cast.
It's only the
girls,
Valyrian
basically.
Kids, Rhaenyra and Alicent. That are changing, which is a big deal.
Actually, they did a really good job with Alicent, because
they did a really good job with all of them.
No, all of them for sure, yeah. But it's just Alicent though. I was when I saw the trailer for the show, I was like, "Oh, is that Olivia Cook? I think that's her name." And then I saw Alicent, and I'm like, "Oh, are these girls related or something? Like, are they sisters? I can't tell the difference between the two." And then
it's the same person. It turns out.
And so when I found out that they're doing the time skip thing, I was like, "Oh, they're the same person." That's damn. I couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah. So I'm interested because I did talk to like somebody about the show, and they didn't know about the time jumps that was happening. Like, even this last one that just happened, which is only 6 months. And he was like, wait, I was kind of confused. And then I told them that in the next episode, there's going to be a year plus of a time jump, and he's like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
So interested to see how people will receive that. My main thing is like, because a lot of people really like the cast right now, so I just hope that they're not like vicious towards them.
My worry, honestly, is the dialogue that's gonna happen. Because like even in this one too, I think they brought it up twice. Like it's been 6 months since the mom's death and all that, and I'm like, I get it. There's a time skip. Cool. You know, I mean, and what's gonna happen in the next one? It seems like they don't have to acknowledge that there was a time skip. Like you'll know. But yeah, I'm curious about the dialogue.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it turns out. So far with these 2 episodes, I have faith in that whatever is to be done with these next 8, it's all gonna be good. And it's nice to have like that feeling of like, oh great, I can look forward to the show, and it'll be of quality, and we're gonna get to the end, fingers crossed, and it's not gonna be an inevitable disappointment like it has been with some of the other shows we've been covering this entire year.
Mm-hmm.
Some, not all of them, but you know which some. Anyway, anything else?
Ale, do you know what's up with the king whenever he pokes himself in the throne?
Oh yeah, that is.
Oh, that's not
That's
good.
another like. Okay, so like in real life, the seat is made out of swords, so you get cut really easily. But also, other people have been cut really easily, and they don't clean it. So that's why he's getting all those nasty things. Yes, yes. But they're mainly showing it because there's a saying in the realm that if the sword, or sorry, if the seat cuts you, you're not meant to be king. Which is why I think that Otto is very, like, he cares about the king and he cares about the realm or whatever, because he doesn't want anybody to know. Because that would mean that everybody's going to start going against him, because they're going to think that he's not fit to be king. He's not meant to be king. The throne is rejecting him.
Mm.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is, this entire time, that chair has been alive, which is why the dragon destroyed it at the last episode of Game of Thrones, as if it were like some kind of sentience in there somewhere.
Yes.
Right? Because other than that, why was that? Okay. No, but now that you mention it, that is pretty gross.
Yeah.
That is pretty fucking gross. And that's probably what's happening. And I mean, it works as a metaphor for what's going on, right?
I mean, he got like a little itty bitty cut on his pinky, and the next episode, his finger's black. Ooh, that's nasty.
Mm.
Yeah, Alexis, just a reminder, just if you have any wipes or hand sanitizer, just bring that with you on the trip, okay? Just in case if you have any, because oh, Jesus Christ. That's gross. All right. Is there anything else before we vomit out of... No?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to this episode of Red Spotlight. As a reminder, you can listen to all our podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you listen to podcasts every single Sunday. For the time being, we'll be recapping House of the Dragon, perhaps She-Hulk, and other stuff that happens. And yeah, until next time, bye-bye.